Hello, I am Sonia, and I am making my first ever vlog that I have the intention of posting online, and I've had lots of encouragement from people to do so. People always tell me that I can help others because I'm really positive. I've been going through this since about 2010, at least these very serious diseases, and I've been told by health professionals that the reason I have made it through some of the things that I have are because I have a positive attitude. I didn't originally make the videos when my counselor suggested it because I didn't really think, maybe I was just scared. I don't know. I do think that I could help people, but I was scared. Everybody's scared to put themselves out there, but I'm finally gonna do it. My husband last night suggested that it could help me too, and so I think that's why I'm finally doing it now. Is because I need the help too of a community. One of the things that the Surgeon General talks about right now is loneliness and how devastating it is to our health. And I think for us chronically ill, disabled people, it's dangerous, but sometimes we actually really can't get what we need from what's available around us. I have a husband who's very supportive, and I have 2 kids who are great as well. They need a mom, and he needs a partner, and sometimes the type of venting that I need to do is just not appropriate for him, and I don't have a lot of friends because, well, I mean, I do. If you look at my social media, if I post something, there's immediately 30 comments and likes, and everybody loves me, but I can't, but I don't have the energy to keep everybody up to date what's going on, and sometimes I don't have the courage because it's scary stuff, and I don't want to hurt people. But at this point, I need help too. I've always been really positive about my diseases. Oh man, I've always said I'm just gonna get better. The reality is I'm not gonna get better. My newest diagnosis is called pulmonary hypertension, and it doesn't get better. There's no there's not cure, obviously. There's not, I hesitate to say treatment, because I don't take anything for it. I have oxygen because I need it for the pulmonary hypertension. Some people with pulmonary hypertension are able to get along without oxygen, I guess, and some people need it. I need it. I'm on 4 liters continuous, 24 hours a day. I had one doctor who said it was all in my head and stuff. So I starved myself of oxygen. It was so traumatic because I trusted him so much, and then but you can't argue with an echocardiogram. And the University of Utah is who finally diagnosed my pulmonary hypertension, and so I stopped going to that provider, and I did put on the oxygen. So I don't have arterial hypertension, which I'm very grateful for. That one gives you a lifespan of about 3 years, usually from diagnosis. So before I get too far in, I don't have that disease. I have mild pulmonary hypertension, and they don't actually understand why I have it. Before I got pulmonary hypertension, what I was dealing with was, for 10 years, acute pancreatitis attacks. I had that primary care doctor, who I ended up leaving. He actually fought for me for 10 years because he thought I needed to have an ERCP because he thought there was a stone in my bile duct, and he was actually right. He fought for me, but over time, it I guess his fight gave up. So but he did the best he could, and there was actually a different doctor though that I ended up finding by happenstance, when I needed stitches in my finger, and that ERCP that one doctor fought for 10 years, and we got turned down. We went to the Mayo Clinic, we went to the Cleveland Clinic, we went to the University of Michigan because they deal with, we went to the Mayo Clinic Rochester in Minnesota, and we went to the University of Minnesota in that's also in Rochester, and because they usually can find cases of pancreatitis, and they couldn't figure it out. Anyway, so after 11 years of finding it, this other new doctor who actually like got kicked out of the local hospital. It's a hilarious story. It's a horrible story, but hilarious to me that he's the one who he calls cell phones of specialists. 3 weeks later, I got the procedure that we tried to get for 10 years, and I did have a stone in my bile duct. So that's why I was getting an acute pancreatitis for 10, 11 years. And we finally got the ERCP, got that stone out. And my specialist told us that it was not a stone. It was real weird. He kept stressing it wasn't a stone, it wasn't a stone, it was just a bunch of sludge. And but I had a nurse from our insurance company, and she told me, she said, no, on the documents here it says a stone. What do they call it? Starts with a C. My brain's not what it used to be. Anyway, I'll maybe in another video, or if I keep talking, I'll remember. But and so once we got that out, now I have chronic pancreatitis, and so getting that procedure, getting the ERCP, at first it was like complete relief, because the bile duct was no longer blocked. I had my gallbladder out in 2011, but they didn't do the ERCP. A duct got nicked during surgery because everything was so inflamed. So they didn't do an ERCP then. And I mean, obviously they saved my life because I'm not dead. That's what happens usually when you nick ducts. So obviously they fixed the nick, and I lived. But I found that out later. That's what happened during surgery. So now I understand why they didn't do the ERCP. So, but once I got that ERCP done, though, then I had my most severe acute attack, where after fighting for care, like getting called a liar at one hospital, oh gosh, maybe I'll do a video about that, but I'll turn into a crying mess if I talk about it now. But after one hospital called me a liar, and we ended up being sent home, and they removed my PICC line thing before I got sent home, so I couldn't even get like the feeding tube treatments at home. So I was starving because I couldn't eat or keep everything down. Finally, in Utah, that ended up being a 21-day hospital stay for acute pancreatitis, where I went down to a little bit less than 100 pounds, and they said, well, what we need to do is find a plan for this now chronic pancreatitis, because after, I believe at this point it was 18 or 19 days of no eating in, and they're like, we need to do something. We can't just maybe it was before that, maybe it was like 15 or 16 days. Anyway, they said we need to make it so you can manage this at home, or you'll just have to stay in the hospital. So they put in a feeding tube. that went into my jejunum. It's not a normal thing that they do. The jejunum is a part of the intestine after your stomach and after the duodenum. So my feeding tube was unique already in the first place, but with that, I could get food to my intestines without making the pancreas angry. Because once food goes or liquid goes into the pancreas, then it causes pain, it causes all this other stuff that you can die from. So that's why they did the feeding tube into my intestines, and I got back to a healthy weight of 120, I think it was, really quickly. Feeding tubes, man, they will fatten you up. I remember when I got to the nutritionist, finally got the nutritionist appointment to tell me how to handle the feeding tube and, how to use it and all that. She was surprised I made it to her. She thought I was going to die. So I didn't die. I'm strong-willed and tenacious. And she taught me how to use it and everything. And so I got to a healthy weight. And then the next turn came. Does anyone remember that formula shortage? 2021, I think it was. There was a formula shortage because contaminants happened. Well, the feeding tube, I didn't know at the time. I was hearing in the news about the formula. I didn't know that my formula for my feeding tube was made in the same factories as the baby formula, but it was, and so that stuff was contaminated too, but I didn't know. So that was March of 2021. I'm using this feeding tube formula, and after about a day and a half of this new batch of formula, I would be too sick to keep going. I'm sick as in can barely move and get out of bed. Never felt this way in my life. Didn't understand what it was happening. I couldn't, it was like my brain wasn't working right either. So I wouldn't use the formula for a couple days. So I'd have to, resort to drinking, and I would drink the Ensure drinks and stuff like that. And so this kept happening. I would go off of the formula, and then I would be physically starving again and losing weight again, and then you go back to the formula, and then sick again, off and on. We didn't understand what was happening until, it started in March. Was it end of August or September, I got a letter from the company that supplies, who sends me in the mail my formula, and I got a letter telling me that my formula was contaminated, that the batches that they sent me, because they keep track of the serial numbers, lot numbers, the batch they sent me was contaminated with botulism and with Clostridium, what's the other one called? Because I didn't get the botulism, I got the other one. It's a really common infection that you can get. I was told that every ER doctor, it's one of the first things they're taught to look for. And while I tried to go to doctors and show them this letter and say, I need to be tested for these diseases, the doctor got hung up on the botulism as the first listed thing, and was telling me that I am delusional. You think you have botulism. That is virtually impossible, which actually it wasn't, because it would have gotten into, usually your stomach kills it or whatever, it would have gotten in past my stomach into my duodenum, but I didn't think that, and it wasn't me trying to go to the doctors. I was told by my nutritionist to go in because before September I had already gotten cellulitis in my, like, infections in my feeding tube. Cellulitis is when the infection travels to the skin. So I was on like my third feeding tube. Like, I had to actually have it completely removed out of my intestines, cleaned out, healed, then get another major surgery to place a new feeding tube. The infection came back. Why? Because the infection source was in my intestines from that formula. So after one doctor telling me I'm delusional because I think I have botulism, and I'm trying to tell him it's the other toxin. It's not that, but I couldn't get the words out of my brain. And apparently when I talked, it was very slow. I was saying the wrong words. And so he thought I was crying because I thought I had botulism, but I wasn't. It was the other one. And anyway, so I got away from that doctor and found another one, and I had to get a referral. So he thought also that it was all in my head, but he was kind about it. And but like the incident care had me on antibiotics, and so the one doctor pretended to do a procedure and said he cleaned out the infection when he didn't. Um, because he just was trying to make me feel better, right? Because he thinks it's in my head, because that's what this other doctor told him in a referral. And so I'm like, okay, so I can go off all of the antibiotics? And he said, yeah. I had this awful feeling in my gut. I was like, this doesn't feel right. But I did it because, like, he gave me assurances that I looked it from the inside. It was completely clean. And and I was like, but it didn't, like, I've had like, why doesn't it feel like I had surgery? Like, it doesn't feel like you actually, like, did the thing. And how did it take only like 3 minutes? Like, it wasn't, you were supposed, like, that doesn't make sense. And but they told me, and so I don't know how I'm still trusty at this point, but I did. So I went off the antibiotics, and 2 days later my feeding tube is full of pus again. My skin is all cellulitis again. It's got blisters and pustules, and so I send him pictures of it. And now I've got this specialist. He's got I've got his full attention. He was like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on? Get back on those antibiotics." And so he treated me for 4 months on heavy doses of antibiotics. The antibiotics were for the infected formula I got back in March, and it was for so the reason why I was having problems with my brain is because there were neurotoxins being released by the bacteria, and so I still have problems with my brain and slowness. Like, I still deal with it. I have to listen to things on like 0.75 speed. I tell my husband, well, I just have more content. I get to enjoy a book for longer, but it's really hard sometimes. Today's a better day. At least it feels like I'm talking faster. So that led to somewhere during that whole process is when I developed pulmonary hypertension and severe sleep apnea. I don't know what played what cause, and the doctors don't know what. The specialists for my pulmonary hypertension, some of the best in the world, they don't know why I have it. And I also during that time got a pain pump for my chronic pancreatitis because I don't want to take oral opiates. We have a history of addiction in my family, so like before the contaminated formula, that was like in March. In January I got that pain pump place. So there's like so many things that happened with my health. They don't know what caused pulmonary hypertension, but I would say the pulmonary hypertension has had the biggest effect on my life. Maybe not the biggest, but it sure feels like it. Breathing is something that you take for granted until you can't do it. Like, it's like I don't even know how to put it into words, but this is not like the other challenges that I've stayed positive through. Um, People tell me I'm a good mom because I try to let my kids do everything. They're very talented, very smart, and I don't want them to lose opportunities because they've always known us their mom. Even like through I just breezed over like 10, 11 years of chronic pancreatitis. The pancreatitis gave me something called nutcracker syndrome. In between there, I had to get a kidney auto transplant after I found the diagnosis myself, and then found a doctor who was like, yes, you're right, and treated it. So like my kids, as they're little, they see their mom getting a kidney auto transplant. That's where my own kidney had to be taken out and fixed and put in a different part of my body. And like all like so those are the things that like I was a champ through. I was positive. But I get this pulmonary hypertension now on top of it. Like I thought, I fixed my kidney. We got my gallbladder, my gallstone out. Now, okay, I'm gonna live with chronic pain for the rest of my life from the pancreatitis. The next thing that's supposed to happen is, I'm aware that the next thing that's supposed to happen is type 1 diabetes, but because your pancreas stops making, chronic pancreatitis, your pancreas stops making insulin. But that's not what happened for me. My pancreas, maybe because my fighting spirit, it starts making a buttload of insulin. I developed, they think it's from the doctors fight over how, like, what to do. My endocrinologist said basically because the insulinoma, it's supposed to be a little tumor on your pancreas that releases the insulin, which is why I gained 60 pounds in 6 months while barely eating any food. It's because of the insulin, and a lot of times that insulinoma is not seen on film. So we got the gold standard test in the hospital, but we still don't have a surgeon who will go in and find the little pea size whatever that's in my pancreas and releasing all the insulin in the world. So he said I just have to wait until it gets worse. It'll get bad enough at some point that a surgeon will agree to treat me. So I'm in that lull where he said, I don't know what to tell you because this isn't something that we treat. He said, I know what you have, but this isn't something that I can do anything for. The guy's like co-authored 48 papers, I think it is. And there's clinical trials going on. People consult with him from all over the world, but I just have to wait for it to get worse because he can't treat it. He has to get a surgeon who will do it, and surgeons don't want to touch your pancreas. I don't even know how I've lived through all these things with my pancreas. But everyone says it's because I'm a fighter. And but this pulmonary hypertension, this low blood sugar that I deal with, so like people who have type 1 diabetes, if they give themselves too much insulin, or they can get low blood sugar, or if you don't eat enough, you get low blood sugar. And what the low blood sugar does is it damages all your organs. I'll go into these, it's almost like a coma where I'm sleeping for 16 hours and my husband couldn't shake me awake. This was what was happening while we were getting searching for the diagnosis. Back then my blood sugar used to still spike, but like when it's 50, you can't wake me up. And now I feel like it might be getting worse. We might be getting close to what the endocrinologist talked about, um, because my blood sugar doesn't spike anymore. I got really excited the other day because it went up to 120. Um, and I'm eating, you would, the amount of carbs that I'm being told to eat and then doing to raise it from 50 to 90 is like, why isn't that working? Anyway, so that's why I felt like I needed something, and my husband said I should make a video, so I did. This is probably been much too unstructured for most people to sit through, and that's fine. I feel better after talking anyway, and maybe there's somebody who, like me, has the time. Gosh, I have so much time. Problem is I can't do anything. I love to crochet, but my autoimmune disorder, gosh, I didn't even talk about my autoimmune disorder. It might be the underlying cause for why I got anyway, it's called ankylosing spondylitis. It causes the spine to fuse together, and I've got arthritis, and it can cause it in every joint in your body. Where mine is hit is in my fingers. So like, you have a lot of joints in your fingers. So like, I like to crochet, but now when I do it, like, my fingers will hurt too bad. I picked up the piano. I had this amazing teacher. He's actually on a mission right now, a service mission right now, but he's like in his 70s, has his master's in piano. He used to call me his little, I started playing piano in like 2021 or 2022. What is it? He called me his prodigy. I didn't grow up playing piano, but I picked it up really well. And then all of a sudden, when the stuff happened with the contaminated formula, and it talked about how my brain stopped working. It was in 2020 that I started playing the piano, like September of 2020. In March of 2021, I started having my brain wasn't working right. All of a sudden I couldn't read the music. I learned how to read music with him. And it was, he was lonely because of COVID, and so we did lessons over Skype. That was, and because he couldn't leave the house because his wife has an autoimmune disease, and so on top of being the elderly with COVID, there was her autoimmune disease, and so like at the counselor's suggestion, I've been trying to find new purposes in life. And so for a while it was the piano, and I was getting so good, and it felt so good. I would sit at the piano for hours a day because I can't work, because I can't stand for periods of time. I wanted to do a different like background for making videos, but I landed on my bed because I spend most of my time in my bed. I also have, my really low blood pressure makes it hard to get out of bed. We've been dabbling with Adderall to raise my blood pressure, but I didn't want to take it today before I make the video because I wanted to make a real, like how I normally talk, how like normal pace that my brain can like process and stuff like that. My doctor put me on Adderall for the past 2 days, and it makes my blood pressure higher, and I can get up and I'm like around the house and stuff like that. But then it's been having a bad effect of like making me crash, triggering PTSD. I guess my psychiatrist said it's I have PTSD from these medical certain doctors doing, like, calling me liars and stuff, and other things from my life. But so when you're stimulated, it activates PTSD. And so the last 2 days, it's been like I've been up and cleaning and taking care of my kids and all these things. I felt like I had my life back. But then both days, about like 5-6 p.m. would hit, and then like all of a sudden I'm triggered and having post-traumatic, like combat veterans, when all of a sudden like they're back in combat and people are shooting at them and stuff, having things like that. And so I'm torn about taking that medicine because it makes it so I can get up and walk around and do stuff, but I gotta figure out how to handle the lows of it, the how, because with PTSD there are things that you can uh like breathing techniques that you can stop, because the stuff in your head, it's like a door gets opened and all of a sudden you're back in those situations, and for me it feels like it's like all of these things at once and they're all running through my head, and I'll like try to like smush myself into a corner of a room or something to try to like uh to like try to stop it, and you try to close the door. And so there's like behavioral techniques you can do. And so I need to work with my counselor and about my counselor's amazing. Her name is Gracie, and she's got a PhD that is also a Skype. It's not Skype, it's the other thing that everyone uses. Forget what it's called. See how I forget things all the time? My degree's in biology. I used to be smart. Anyway, so she's very smart, and we've been working on behavioral techniques to stop the PTSD attacks from occurring, but I can get a handle on it. It just means more like time in bed, and like I was excited about using the Adderall to like be up and be able to do things, but I gotta get that under control before I can maybe fully take advantage of it. Maybe I'll be able to start doing some of my activities again. I really like cleaning. I know that that's like a weird thing, but it's a stress reliever to me. And I also really like to sew. I actually have a minor in sewing. We like Brandon Sanderson. We're such nerds in this family. We go to all of his the Dragonsteel conventions every year. And so like I made my daughter a Shalon costume. I made her a Hava. I took a basic Cheongsam folklore pattern and made it, custom for her for this last Dragonsteel event. That took like a lot of my energy, and so like I got things that I want to do. It's just a lot of days I just can't get out of bed to do it, and so most of my videos will probably be from bed. And I don't know that every video will be like on topic. I have ADHD that I go on tangents, and so I can't promise that that's not how every video is going to be. I try to like write down topics that I would want to talk about in this video, and I just couldn't do it. So I was like, I'm just going to go talk and we'll see what happens. And if it's a disaster, it's a disaster. But like, that's what real life is. I don't have time to edit videos or get good lighting. I just like, I have this weird little heater thing sitting on top of a like a one of those like trays that you sit over the top of people for like breakfast in beds or whatever. I have one of those. My husband got me for like coloring. I do like to color a lot. except sometimes my fingers, it hurts too much to color. Like my knuckles, they get all swollen, and it's hard to hold the things. But anyway, so that's why I have this little tray thing, and then I have things like my phone's all precariously stacked, so like none of my videos will be perfect and glamorous like other people's. I do I started making another video earlier today. I was wearing my pajamas and I didn't have any makeup on, and I was like, well, that's fine. That's how sick people know how it goes. Like that's how we are all the time. But then I decided to like get dressed and put on some makeup just because I like makeup. I don't think it's a bad thing, and go from being a 120-pound person your whole life to now I'm 190 pounds, and uh you want to feel somewhat good about yourself stuff, so like that actually is something I'll probably make a video about. That chronically ill people need to be careful about. I like for us, I have to take a shower to wash my body, and then a separate shower to wash my hair because I don't have the energy to do both. That might be my POTS too. It's where every time you stand up, your blood pressure gets really low, and it's because your heart's going too fast. Your neurological system tells your heart to go too fast, and so that's the thing that deals with my low blood pressure. And so anyway, so like what I would had going on was I would spend 3 hours getting ready for a doctor appointment, trying to make myself look nice, because that's the way that I would stay positive and how I deal with having a chronic illness, which was back then, the chronic pancreatitis. And the doctors, I didn't know this, there's a part of their evaluation that talks about your looks. Like it talks about your grooming. Like if you look like you have the energy to do your makeup, and you have on clean clothes, you've obviously bathed, it looks like you've done your hair, which looks like I've done something to my hair. I didn't brush it or anything today. I'm very blessed with my hair. But I got doctors, because the one I brought it up earlier about how like after my ERCP there was a hospital stay where I found out one of the residents didn't believe me. He thought I was lying. And so his teacher, he was the student doctor, the resident doctor, the teacher doctor, whatever it's called, came in and explained to me why he thought I was faking. It was because I was too positive in my demeanor and my looks. They thought that I was showering every morning and blow drying and straightening my hair. I was telling them how much pain I was in, but they didn't think my tone of voice matched the level of pain. And so my husband came in, and actually so grateful for this. Even my mother-in-law came in and explained to them that this is just, I've had to deal with this for 10 years, and this is how I deal with it, by being positive. And one of the things that I tried not to give up was my positivity, and that I was like, I'm not wearing any makeup. That whole hospital stay, I didn't have a lick on, but I do have really even skin tone. Like right now, I'm just wearing mascara and eyeshadow and eyeliner, but to them, like, it looked like I had put on makeup, and I was just like, no, I'm not wearing makeup. This is just me. And I was like talk to the orderly. I haven't showered in 5 days because there's no one to help me, and I was too sick. I was like, but I'm trying to be positive because I know that your job as a doctor is hard, and you're always like, I don't want to be a jerk, like, but so you have to be careful when you go to doctor's appointments about how don't don't spend all of your energy doing your hair. Go in a state that lets them know how you feel. And if you're a woman, bring your husband. My dad told me that at one point. Oh, my voice is getting shaky. I'm gonna have to end this at some point. It's part of the pulmonary hypertension. If I keep going, like, my voice will start getting hoarse and sound like I have like what is it called? Starts with an L. When you can't talk, laryngitis or whatever. So I'll try to wrap this up, but I want to get one more last point in. For people, when you're going to the doctor, don't put your makeup on. Don't use all your energy to try to be positive. You show them what it is. Let yourself cry in the office. Though I felt like every time I cried, I lost all. Like the doctor just, they're usually male doctors, and they just stopped listening. And my dad said, well, why aren't you, like, are you bringing your husband to your appointments? I said, no, why would I? Like, he's got work, he's got things, like, I needed. And he said, where you're living, I live in a religious area, and so my area especially, he said, where you live, you're a second class citizen as a woman. And I live in 90%, 98% of the people in my town all practice the same religion. And I grew up in California, so I didn't grow up here. And so I didn't know, I guess I didn't know that that's how it was. And so after I started bringing my husband to every doctor appointment, everything changed. Doctors listened. I finally got the pain medicine for my chronic pancreatitis. I finally got anyway, if you have if you don't have a significant other, bring a friend, somebody else who can attest to that this is happening, because that changed the level of care I got. Anyway, I'll make some tips and some videos about, like, things that I've learned about the healthcare system to help you navigate, because if you have really rare diseases like I do, it is very hard to get diagnosed. And I never have thought that the world was, like, sexist or anything, because of the privilege that I grew up with, being a white woman in Los Angeles County, with two parents. I didn't know that there were places where you can get treated as differently. So I'm gonna make some videos and I know that it's worse for a lot of other people than it is even for me. So that's why I do want to make some videos later on that talk about things to make sure you do. Like, I learned to make lists of the points that you want to get across, because we have brain fog, so you forget what you wanted to talk to the doctor about. Like make lists, and there's specific things I've learned. And so I'll make later videos about that in the future. But for today, I just wanted to thank you. I'll be really shocked if anyone watches this all the way through. Thank you if you do. Thanks to the universe for there existing a platform that I could spout what sometimes in my head feels like nonsense and post it somewhere. And even if it goes nowhere, I do feel better. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good day. What is today? Today's Tuesday. And that we can all get what we need, which is community, support, and love. And thanks, guys. I will probably make another video, like, in a couple days. Bye.